In one of the biggest challenges to Roe versus Wade in decades, Supreme Court justices heard arguments last week on a Mississippi law which bans most abortions 15 weeks after conception. Several of the court's conservative justices appeared willing to rule to overturn the 1973 decision, Roe versus Wade. The current law stops states from banning abortion before a fetus can survive outside the womb, around 23 weeks. Georgia's new law restricts abortions after about 6 weeks. It'll take months for the court to come to a decision. Joining me now is Chuck Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. Good morning, Chuck.
Well, good morning, Christy.
Stacey Abrams says she is running for Georgia governor in 2022, setting up a likely rematch with Governor Brian Kemp. And one of the issues that could come up in 22 is something that you'll be discussing on Meet the Press today, abortion. Georgia already tried to pass an abortion law. A federal judge struck it down. Depending on how the Supreme Court rules on this latest case from Mississippi, where could that potentially rank among voter issues in key races like here in Georgia?
Look, I think if there is a full overturn in June, think about the timing of it too, by the way, right? We're going to get this decision by the Supreme Court in June, right? And this is right before essentially everything kicks into another gear in our midterm politics. If it's a full overturn, I think this is particularly in governor's races around the country, but especially in the most closely divided states, Georgia being obviously one of perhaps currently the swingiest swing state we have in America right now. It absolutely will be front and center. It will trump the issue that I think many thought would be front and center in a Stacey Abrams campaign, voting rights. I think it will be larger than that. And the question is, does an overturn of Roe actually galvanize the left the way the right has galvanized around the anti-abortion stance that they've taken over the years and has helped turn out on the right and things like that? Do we see something on the left for the first time that does the same thing? And I think there will be no better race to watch to see if that's true than the state of Georgia in the governor's race.
A Georgia woman is one of the latest to test positive for the Omicron variant. You have the director of the National Institute of Health, Dr. Francis Collins, on the show today. With this virus continuing to mutate, and of course we are already in the holiday travel season, and it's only going to get worse as we head toward Christmas. President Biden already said that shutdowns and lockdowns are not the way to fight this latest variant. But does the country have the confidence that this administration has the right solutions?
I don't think the country has the confidence that anybody has the right solutions right now because of how sort of checkerboard-like we are with our solutions. You know, in some communities, everybody's wearing masks, everybody's getting vaccinated, people are getting their boosters, they're following the rules. And in other communities, they're actively trying to flout the rules, if you will, right? Passing laws to ban the ability to mandate a vaccine and things like this. So I think in that sense, the Biden administration, you could argue, needs to be more full-throated with this. This week they were. This week you saw the president every day talk some form of COVID. But I would argue that's something that they should have been doing for the last 3 months. And in some ways, I think there's a perception with some. I would argue it's an unfair perception, but the perception's there because of how much time the president spent and the Democrats spent infighting on their agenda and not focused on what is sort of hitting everybody else in America. And that is fallout from COVID, when I'm talking about supply chain issues, inflation, and things like that. And I think at this point, they got to stick to COVID first on everything they do, and then they got to produce here. You know, one of the big things that the president promised this week is easier and cheaper testing at home. Well, we've been promised that from the start of this pandemic, and we're still behind most other countries on this. So I think that is something he's got to produce by the end of the year if we do want to restore some confidence that we feel good about our COVID response.
All right, Chuck, thank you. Meet the Press airs today at 10, following Weekend Morning, right here on 11 Alive.